It is Soulful Sunday. How's everybody doing? Oh my God, we having this moment again where my devices are not what they need to be. Let me see where I'm at. I have enough juice here on my. I have to give a shout out to this sister. I don't know who she is, but I'm claiming her to be my friend. You want to see her? Check her out. I'm gonna have to put her link down here. I seen her in Central Park. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the SupaTea Podcast Show. It is Soulful Sundays, and a lot is going on. I was scrolling about an hour or so ago, and this amazing sister came across my timeline. And what caught my attention is the fact that she is blind, and she is out here doing her music, and I mean, she is doing some big things. So I want to share her. Her name is called Lachi. Hey, Lachi, if you hear anything about the SupaTea Podcast Show, listen to the SupaTea Podcast Show, Lachi. I'm going to promote you here. Y'all got to check out this sister. Her name is Lachi. She is local, so it's not like she's all the way in California. Like a lot of people, I'll be like, oh my God, they're so fly, and I look at them, they be like so far. But yeah, she's close, and she has created a something called Ramped Up. Ramped Up is recording artists and music professionals with disabilities. So you see, I have these diaphragms behind me. And the reason why I have these diaphragms behind me is because I have metal currently in my body from an old injury. And subsequently, and I've talked about this before on my platform, I've had 2 other major injuries prior to the first one that initiated the metal that's currently in my body. So I have challenges, mobility challenges, which technically is a disability. I really didn't want to accept that word for a very long time, especially discovering how powerful words are. But I have to just be honest with where I am right now, especially that I'm older. I'm 40. It's like it was easier to mask my disability before, especially before the other daggone accidents, when it was just one injury. It was a major injury, but it was, like I said, it was easier to mask it. But then when the next injury happened, it was like, oh yeah, you not, what somebody else maybe would have experienced from that was different because I was already previously injured. And then the last injury, which was 2 years ago, really physically made me more aware of my disability, and my mobility challenges. I kind of like that a bit better because I feel with consistent therapy, physical therapy, and with consistent exercise and with consistent nutrition that I can fully recover. But I know it's going to take time for that to happen. So in the meantime, between time, I'm not going to stop doing the other things that I do. I just have to accept that this is my current mobility challenges that I have, my current physical challenges. I have to accept those things. I have to continue to work towards um, alleviating those things and healing and totally recovering from those things with physical therapy, stretch therapy, exercise, nutrition, all of that. Like really, for real, for real. It's not a game. It's not a joke. I'm gonna even be more intimate and transparent with you guys and share. So, but before I do, check out Ramped. I'm going to. Can you see Ramped here? I am going to share the link of Ramped because I know I'm not the only person that is an artist with a disability, and I didn't even know there was a Disability Pride Month. But I'm proud that she is out and she is sharing this, and she has created this amazing platform for people with disabilities who are talented to also not be excluded but be included. It's amazing. This is an amazing breakthrough. And even though I may eventually heal, currently this is where I am. So I want to be an advocate for other artists with disabilities, and I'm going to go and share with you just some of the supplements that I um, currently incorporate in my diet. So bear with me a minute. We are going to get into our book, Seed of the Soul. We are definitely going to get here. And I am going to go and put, I have to get my ring light so I can hold the other device up so that I could also simultaneously go into TikTok and do my live over there as well. So I'm going to grab my supplements really quick. I'm going to grab some tea, and after I show and share with you a bit of my supplements, we're going to go and dive into the book. So I didn't have to go too far, but oh my gosh, my hands are full. Oh, my hands are full. All right, so got the ring light for the phone. It's a lot. So I'm gonna set up the phone right now. I had to plug it up. It was on like 5%. I'm in my, 40s. In my 40s, people, and I have talked about this, and I know I'm not the only person that's talking about the wonderful things that's happening at 40. There's a lot of shit happening in a woman's life and in a woman's body in her 40s. A lot. So, with that being said, I'm going to go and start my TikTok. live. It's 10 minutes in, so thank you so much for your patience. I'm still a work in progress in regards to getting my podcast getting this part. Hey, welcome to the SupaTea Podcast Show. So I have two lives that's going on right now. I'm going to be looking at two different cameras. One is my YouTube. My YouTube started about 10 minutes ago on time. Woo-hoo-hoo! And then I just started my TikTok over here. But welcome. This is Soulful Sunday here at the SupaTea Podcast Show. And what I was talking about was an artist that I came across. Her name is Lachi, and she is a disabled artist, and she is making some headlines and some opening up some pathways for other disabled artists. She's actually started a whole company that supports recording artists that has disabilities. And so I briefly on my YouTube channel was talking about my mobility challenges. I don't really feel comfortable with the word disability, even though technically it is applicable to where I am currently. However, I'm just appreciative that she is doing this, and I'm going to promote her on my channel. I did already share one of her hit singles, and I'm going to share the link to her if you're not familiar with her. Her name is Lachi, and she's local, so I'm planning that like me and Lachi are going to be friends. Because again, even though you can't really see the diagrams behind me on TikTok, I'm going to momentarily move this device so that you can see them. So these diagrams gave me the ability to get to learn my body better, and allow me to work on correcting my challenges. Now, my challenges are not going to be corrected overnight. They're going to take time. They're going to take consistency for me to actually correct these physical challenges. But to know that as an artist, because I am an artist, as a recording artist, even though, because we're recording right now, right? So I'm not just a motivational speaker or public speaker, but I do also sing. If you follow me on my Instagram account, you'll see me singing. I just had a paying gig this past Friday, and it was a lot of preparation and a very short notice that I had to prepare for this performance. And so, I'm grateful. I'm grateful beyond words right now with my life and everything in it. It's like one good thing after another good thing after another good thing after another good thing. It's like so many good things are happening simultaneously in my freaking life. And I am totally, absolutely convinced that it is completely because of my consistent choice to plug in consciously to my divinity, to acknowledge my divinity, to acknowledge my soul, to acknowledge the biggest part of me, and refuse to forget. Because it's literally what covers me and carries me. So some of this is redundant here on the YouTube side. However, because I started the other live 10 minutes in, I'm going to catch them up, so to speak. So I am working on my physical challenges because I do really honestly feel that there could be restoration and there can be full recovery in my physical body to heal from the injuries And I guess it's different, when you're born with a disability versus developing a disability after an injury, but nonetheless, a disability is a disability. So there are things that I can relate to with people who have disabilities, because I have one right now. Mine is a mobility issue, and it makes it very challenging just to do regular stuff, And even though this is a disability that arose after a series of injuries, because it wasn't like it was just one. It was one when I was 12. It was another in my 30s, and the most recent one I had, I was in my 40. I was 40. I just turned 40 a couple of months prior, So I had three major injuries that resulted in the disability that I currently have. But I am convinced that I can fully recover. I just feel it's going to take time. It's going to take physical therapy, not just a couple of weeks of physical therapy, but a while of physical therapy, years. It's going to take years, just like a person overcoming mental trauma. Sometimes it takes years of therapy. So me overcoming this physical trauma from the physical injury, it's going to take some time. It's going to take years, So I've been educating myself on the sideline, not just in college on the subject matters, but also on my body, on biology and how the body operates, and how the mind operates, and all of those things, because they're all intertwined and connected to each other. And with my research and with my studies, I've also been taking supplements. So I wanted to share the supplements that I have been taking with the world. So one of them is magnesium. Magnesium. And I'm almost done with this one. I actually had to go and get more. Let's see. I had to go and get more yesterday. I went and got more. So I've been taking magnesium. Listen, this is for educational purposes. Only I encourage you to do your own research. Creatine. Creatine. Supplement 3. Osteo Move. This has magnesium, potassium, boswellia, turmeric, hydrolyzed collagen 2, hydraulic acid, boron, which is all good for your joints, because those are the areas that I need to heal and recover in. So that's another one. Cod liver oil, oldie but goodie, just to keep the inflammation at bay in my body. And more collagen, people. More collagen. My injuries affected my legs. So yeah, the things that you actually use to walk and to sit and to get up and to do a lot of major movement with, those are the things that are injured, and it makes it very challenging to do basic things, walking upstairs, even sitting down for lengths of periods, or standing for certain periods of time becomes painful. What my body has done to try to compensate for the injury is the muscles around my joints, and particularly my hip joints, have gotten very, very, very tight to give me stability, so that I'm not, falling often. But that tension restricts, because the hip is very similar to the shoulder. It's a ball and socket. So see how my shoulder easily, there's nothing, I've never injured my shoulder, so I can do all this, but I can't do this with my legs. So just moving it back and forth is painful, or even just like that is painful. That's just painful. It's painful. So anyway, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And I'm going to be promoting this lady's music. Her information is going to be in the description of my show. So I'm excited. Oh, here's another very, very important. This is what keeps me out of jail, people. This is what keeps me calm, cool, and collected. More herbs. So I have been. I'm gonna say this word because it's a cool word, and I just started doing it, kind of, sort of. I've been accepting, invitations. I should say that. That's more accurate. I've been accepting invitations, but I have been dating herbs for years, okay? And at this point, I want to say that I am actually married to herbs. When I tell you I went to a farmer's market, and I didn't even expect to go to the farmer's market yesterday. I went to get my mail, and as a treat, the farmer's market was there with straight from the farm herbs. I got some basil. I got some, did I get thyme? I didn't get thyme. I got basil. I got sage, fresh sage, people. Woo! I got oregano, fresh oregano. I got fresh rosemary. Oh, I got fresh little tomatoes. I got fresh peppers. I ate the tomatoes. I got fresh strawberries. Oh my God. It was such a freaking experience. When I tell you it was such an experience, I don't know if it's my growth and my development in regards to my spirituality that makes me extra sensitive to energy, but I literally felt the energy from this food, these herbs that were picked fresh from the farm. It was different than the herbs that you go when you go into the store. It was different. I haven't never ever felt the vibrancy like I felt off of these herbs that I got yesterday that came straight from the farm, like harvested, packed, delivered, picked by me and other people, of course, obviously, and brought into my home. So I had to do some research, because I was like, oh, there's so much. I got so much for so little bit of money. You got to go onto my Instagram page because I shared it all there. All of my Instagram page at the SupaTea Podcast Show, I shared pictures of these herbs because I was just like, I can't believe I bought all of this stuff. And I bought meat. I bought fresh meat too. Like, I didn't just buy herbs. I bought herbs. I bought fresh meat. I brought cider, fresh apple cider for $50 freaking dollars. You know, these herbs are not only gonna last a long time. These herbs, because they're fresh, allow me to, guess what? Guess what? I'm excited about this. They allow me to start my garden. Woo! I just got my garden tools too. Y'all want to see my garden tools? Okay, this Soulful Sunday is a show and tell. Okay, let me get my garden tools. Okay, because I'm super excited about those. Bam! Oh wait, y'all don't see it on YouTube yet. Bam! So yeah, I bought this little bag that came with these little tools. Look at my little tools. Hold up. I'm so excited. Sorry, YouTube. Here's one tool. La, 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 la. Here's another tool, and I have to repot one of my big plants. My first baby. Da, la, 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 la. Da, 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 da. Don't ask me what any of these are called because I don't know. So I got dirt for my herbs. I'm rooting them right now. So I'm rooting the herbs. I got some organic dirt for them, and I'm going to grow my own herbs. I get perfect sunlight. This sunlight is astounding. Can I tell you it's astounding, the sunlight in here? It's astounding. I don't use, there is no central light in the rooms anyway, but it works out, because I don't need to. All I need to do is open the blinds. I don't have no light on right now. I have no light on right now. This is all natural sunlight right here, right now. So yeah, I'm starting my herb garden. I've been so excited. I love nature. So I'm learning about ultra culture and I'm learning about agriculture because my house plant requires another type of dirt versus my herbs. And I was joking on the telephone with my cousin because I was like, I went to Family Dollar to get my dirt. But see, everything happens for a reason. They didn't have no more, and I was a little disappointed. And I was sharing it with her, and she was like, I was like, I'll just order it. And she was like, girl, it's gonna be expensive. And I'm like, I'll be alright. And I was like, if anything, I'll go into the park and dig me up some dirt. And I was like, shoot, if it's good enough to grow the trees, it would be good enough to grow my herbs. False. There's different type of soil. There's acidic soil, which herbs need. They need like a pH between 5 and 7. And then there is alkaline soil, which is what the trees pretty much flourish in. So I have a tree. I have 3 trees actually in my house. And those need alkaline soil. My herbs need acidic soil. So it's 2 different soils. So I had to educate myself on that. And I just learned that within the last 24 hours. I just want to say, I just learned that, okay? I haven't been studying that for years, but I have known that this is a part of me for years. And so for it to be actually in fruition and blossoming it means a lot. It means a lot to me. But with all of that said, like I said before, I am totally convinced that is because the goodness that's happening in my life right now is because I am attuned and tapped into the biggest part of me, which is my divinity, which is my soul, which is my spirit. Those things are bigger than what you see. Now, what you see is not a little small person, but the spirit and the soul of me is even bigger. And guess what? We all have divine parts to us. All of us, me, you, everybody. And I'm so convinced that, especially with my background, with my experience, foster care, trauma, abuse, abandonment, homelessness, poverty, all of those things I experienced in this lifetime already and past. And now I'm sitting, I can look out my window and I can see New York City skyline. And I don't have to worry about my basic needs because they're secure. Everything is taken care of. All I need to do is focus on my growth and doing the things that I love and sharing my wisdom with the world to remind others that if I can reach this peace, this point of peace, that you can reach this point of peace too in your life. In your life, you can reach it. It's phenomenal. You still go through emotions. You're still very present, but you realize that you have the power to create in your life, and so you begin to do that, and you start seeing things unfold in your life. You start feeling things unfold in your life. It's phenomenal. I don't think there's words in the English language to even talk about it. And to prove the synchronicities, if you had any doubt, you may have some doubt. You might be new here. I see I have somebody here hanging out with me. Thank you for hanging out with me, sister. Nobody's over here in the YouTube world, but that's okay. You wanna know why? Just before I start, because this is what we're doing. We're diving into this book. We're on chapter 4 today. We do a chapter every Sunday. Every Sunday we do a chapter in this book. Um, and what I like about YouTube is that once I finish the live, I'm gonna post it and it's gonna be available so you can watch the replay over in YouTube. So nobody has to be over here right now. They could watch it later. But I'm glad somebody is here and present with me here on TikTok. All right, so I'm just gonna dive in chapter 4. You can catch all of the replays from chapter 1 up until now on my YouTube channel. All right, I'm gonna be looking at both cameras. They're not lined up because I didn't plug up my phone until I got on my YouTube. But let's go in. Chapter 4, Heart. The logics that have served our 5 sensory exploration of physical reality cannot comprehend evolution without time or the influence of the present upon the past. They cannot meaningfully represent the existence of the soul or a dynamic of energy balancing that generates and links many lifetimes. They reflect no experiential points of reference beyond those of the 5 sensory personality. Therefore, the time has come for a higher order of logic. More than 5 senses we have, cause we more than these bodies. All right, get back to the book. The logics and understandings of the 5 sensory personality originates in the mind. They are products of the intellect. The higher order of logic and understanding that is capable of meaningfully reflecting the soul comes from the heart. The creation of this higher order of logic and understanding therefore requires close attention to feelings. Feelings and feelings and feelings. The central position of the heart is the higher order of logic and understanding of the multi-sensory human and the sensitivity to emotional currents that is characteristic of multi-sensory humans appear as extraneous to the 5 sensory personality because they do not serve the accumulation of external power consciously. We have come to view feelings as unnecessary appendages like tonsils. I don't know if my tonsils are useful, okay? And I love them, okay? And they're big, but I love them. I love them. I would show them to you, but yeah, that's a bit much. But I love them. I love my tonsils. Let's get back to the paragraph. I'm going to start over again. As we have come to seek and wield external power consciously, we have come to view feelings as unnecessary appendages like tonsils, useless but capable of creating pain and dysfunction. Thus, the pursuit of external power has led to a repression of emotions. This is true of us as individuals and as a species. The irrelevancy that we attribute to feelings pervades our thinking and our values. We admire the hard-nosed businessman who fires employees for the sake of external power. We reward the military officer who sends himself or others to pain and death for the sake of external power. We honor the statesman who is not swayed by compassion. When we close the door to our feelings, we close the door to the vital currents that energize and activate our thoughts and actions. We cannot begin the process of understanding the effects of our emotions upon us, our environment, and other people, or the effects of the emotions of other people upon themselves, their environments, and us. Without an awareness of our emotions, we cannot associate the effects of anger, sadness, grief, and joy within ourselves or others with their causes. We cannot distinguish between that part of us, which is personality, and that part of us, which is soul. Without an awareness of our feelings, we cannot experience compassion. How can we share the sufferings and the joys of others if we cannot experience our own? If we are not intimate with our emotions, we cannot perceive the dynamics that lie behind emotions, the way that these dynamics work, and the ends that they serve. Emotions are currents of energy that pass through us. Awareness of these currents is the first step in learning how our experiences come into being and why. Emotions reflect intentions. Hey, Cozy, welcome in, girl. Um, Emotions reflect intentions. Therefore, awareness of emotions leads to awareness of intentions. I'm gonna stop here real quick. You hanging out with me, girl? I see one of my friends from way back when we were babies with babies. She is here in my TikTok land. So I just want to give a shout out to her and let her know what's going on. It is Soulful Sundays here at the SupaTea Podcast Show. If you see me looking to the side, I'm looking over into my YouTube camera. I got YouTube Live going, and also TikTok Live going. And I appreciate TikTok. I do. Last week I didn't stay in TikTok for the whole time because I wanted to see if I could go and do Instagram. I tried the other platforms, but Instagram changed their rules. So I gotta have 1,000 followers in Instagram now to even go live, even though I've had that account for probably 10 years. But that's the politics of life. It's in everything. Thank you for the likes and the hearts and the love. So I said, well, I'm going to go back into TikTok. Now, why I like, or why I prefer YouTube is because after I finish the live over here, I can publish it and people can look at it in their own free time. But here in TikTok, if you don't catch it, you ain't going to catch it. You're going to have to catch the replay over there in YouTube. So I'm going to jump back in. I've been reading from this book for the last 4 weeks. This is the 4th week this Sunday. And we're in chapter 4, which is titled The Heart. The title of the book is The Seat of the Soul. And it is written by GARY ZUKAV. And it is going deep. Girl, you know I be going deep. You know this already. She know this already, y'all. She know this already. I'm going to get back into the book. All right. Emotions reflect intentions. Therefore, awareness of emotions leads to awareness of intentions. Every discrepancy between a conscious intention and the emotions that accompany it points directly to a splintered aspect of the self that requires healing. If, for example, your intention to marry caused pain instead of joy, following the pain will lead you to unconscious intentions. If your intention to advance in your work causes sorrow instead of satisfaction, following the sorrow will lead you to unconscious intentions. Without an awareness of your emotions, you are not able to experience reverence. Reverence is not an emotion, it is a way of being, but the path to reverence is through your heart. And only an awareness of your feelings can open your heart. The higher order of logic and understanding of the multi-sensory personality reveals connections. Multisensory means that we have more than the five senses. And the reason why we have more than the five senses of touch and smell and seeing and taste and hearing is because we're more than these physical bodies. So I just wanted to, explain that a little bit. All right, so I'm starting the paragraph again. The higher order of logic and understanding of the multisensory personality reveals connections where no connections are apparent to the five sensory personality, and meaning where no meaning is apparent to the five sensory personality. A five sensory personality is not able to process fully the data of its senses. Its perception of reality is segmented. Its experience of the universe is partitioned. The five sensory personality can learn that internal dynamics affect perception and formulate this as folklore or cliche, such as smile and the world smiles with you. It can discover regularities within physical reality and formulate them as laws, such as a body in uniform motion will remain in uniform motion until it is acted upon by a force. Yet, the five sensory personality is not able to experience the relationships between these domains, and therefore it's not able to learn about one from the other. It's not able to experience the same richness through each. Science, for example, reflects the divine impulse to become conscious of relationships that connect apparently separate aspects of experience. It is the pinnacle achievement of the five sensory personality. Yet, when the fruits of science are grasped only with the logic and understanding of the five sensory human, internal dynamics, feelings, and intentions appear to be unrelated to the world of matter. But we know that our intentions and our feelings subsequently creates the matter that we experience in our individual realities and individual worlds. Because even though we coexist on this one planet, people are having very different experiences. And the reason why they're having these different experiences is coming from internally, places where they need to heal, where they need to grow, where they need to expand, and they need to accept that they are more than the physical person they see when they look in the mirror. I'm going to get back to the book. Where were we? I'm going to start here. It is the pinnacle achievement of the five sensory personality. Yet, when the fruits of science are grasped only with logic and understanding of the five sensory human, internal dynamics, feelings, and intentions appear to be unrelated to the world of matter. That's just an appearance. That's not the truth. Neither supernovas nor subatomic decay rates nor anything in between appear to be affected by what human beings feel or think. Again, just because it appears that way doesn't mean that it's actually that way. Now, when the discoveries of science are comprehended with the logic and understanding of the multisensory human, intimate relationships appear between internal dynamics and regularities that govern physical phenomena. To the multisensory human, for example, a body in uniform motion will remain in uniform motion until it is acted upon by a force reflects not only a dynamic at work within the realm of time and space and matter, but also a deeper dynamic that works within non physical reality as well. How is this? One of my friends in infantry officer candidate school was a tall, affable, and pleasant looking young man from Kentucky named Hank. Hank and I liked each other early on. Several times he lent me his physical strength when my load became too heavy, and I helped him through intellectual obstacles such as calculating artillery trajectories. We shared adventures, and our friendship grew. Upon graduation, we were assigned to different organizations. I lost track of Hank until I ran into him in Saigon. He had been wounded and due to the befriending of an army general had been assigned to a unit that I came frequently to visit. While serving in Saigon, he met a popular female radio announcer and they became engaged. It seemed a perfect match. A tall, handsome captain and a beautiful and admired public figure. I again lost track of Hank until I had left the army. He called me to say that his wife was coming to make an appearance at a resort near me, and he asked me to meet him there. When I met Hank, now a civilian also, he looked troubled, and his easygoing manner was dampened. He had changed his name to Hal, he told me, and apologized that his wife was unable to join us. We spoke for a while, and when I asked him what he was doing with himself, he told me, looking for my place in the sun. The next news that I heard of Hank Hal was that he had killed himself. When I was later able to meet his widow, she told me a painful story of marital difficulties, of Hank's despondency, and of his suicide. In the years immediately following the Vietnam War, the rate of suicides among Vietnam veterans was significantly higher than the rates of suicides among non-veterans. Therefore, it is likely that Hank also was affected adversely by his experiences in Vietnam. Yet, there was also a more common dynamic at work in my friend. Hank was not the kind of person to ask himself deeper questions about his life. He did not inquire into the deeper meaning of his existence upon the earth, because that would have caused him to change his life, and he did not want to do that. He lived his life without much reflection, and one day he awoke to overwhelming emptiness and powerlessness. How does my friend's life relate to the first law of motion? A body in uniform motion will remain in uniform motion until it is acted upon by a force. What does uniform motion mean in the terms of a human life? And what is the force that alters that motion? The outward events of Hank's life were not uniform. He grew up on a farm in Kentucky. He became a military officer. He traveled thousands of miles from his home. He married a celebrity, and then he brought his own life to an end. It was the unconscious quality of the flow of Hank's life that was uniform in its motion. Neither the experiences of his childhood, nor his military service, nor his marriage caused Hank to consider seriously the deeper meaning of his existence. The pains and the joys that flowed through him did not affect his awareness of who he was or what he might become. Hank did not allow himself to follow the experience of his life to their roots. On the contrary, he feared such a pursuit. As a result, his life flowed uniformly unaware, uniformly unconscious from its incarnation to its release. He experienced the situations that were necessary to the balancing of the energy of his soul. He responded to them in accordance with the conditioning that he had acquired through the karma of his soul and the environment into which he was born. And he created more karma unconsciously with each response. The compassion that Hank brought into the world nurtured many people around him, including me, but he did not allow it to become his center of gravity. Hank made no effort to move towards his own soul. He spent his life attempting to fulfill the wants of his personality, and he became too attached to those wants to attempt to change them. Thus, Hank's life was a body in uniform motion that never encountered a force. What is the force that Hank's life did not encounter? Let's talk about Gregory. Gregory was a white middle class, college educated man from the Northeast. His childhood was emotionally difficult. He grew up angry, manipulative, and bitter. He was incapable of forming relationships, and his violent temper and argumentative nature kept people at a distance. This further increased Gregory's disdain for life and for other people. But he did not stop to ask what role he played in his experiences. When at last his temper and his disagreeable disposition caused the woman that he was living with to leave, Gregory fell into a deep anguish, not only because of his loss, but also because he recognized in this latest event the repetition of a long-standing pattern in which he found himself in each instant suffering from rejection. He determined to confront both his pain and his pattern. He made arrangements to live in solitude while he searched within himself for the deepest causes of his painful life. So instead of him looking outside like, oh, well, is this person's fault, is that person's fault? No. What Gregory decided to do was to look within himself and see, listen, let me confront myself. Let me look at me and ask myself, why am I having these challenges? Because there's been a pattern. There was a pattern that he finally noticed. This is what Gregory noticed. Hank and Gregory are two different people, but we're going to compare Hank to Gregory as we continue in the book. When he emerged, this is Gregory, weeks later, both his perceptions and his values had changed. He began to soften, and slowly his old mannerisms dropped away. Over the following years, he developed a more sensitive way of being with people. His cynicism gave way to an emerging joy. His anger melted, and other people became central to his life. He is a productive person now, and he draws his strength from the contributions that he makes to his fellows. These changes did not come easily to Gregory. He transitioned from an angry, manipulative, disdainful person to a more caring and considerate person. This was a journey through pain that required much courage. Yet, by committing himself to that journey, he changed his life. From the point of view of Gregory's consciousness, the uniform flow of Gregory's life was altered significantly by his determination to confront his pain. And it was altered further by his determination to cultivate his new perceptions The force that altered the uniform motion of Gregory's life was his decision to enter into his life consciously. Without this decision, Gregory's life would have continued as did Hank's, on the unconscious course that his karma and his responses to the situations that it generated would have created for him. Like, y'all hearing the words and between the words? Basically, both Gregory and Hank created their own lives. Only difference is that Gregory became conscious. He consciously began to create his life, whereas Hank was unconscious and he just was going with what was being expected or asked of him. He wasn't going deeper inside of himself to see what his purpose really is in life. So he had an emptiness, he had a void, even though on the outside he had all of the things. He married a celebrity, he successfully survived Vietnam, even though I'm pretty sure that was very traumatic and, impactful on his mental. But physically, he survived it. Physically, he had money, he had a celebrity wife, but inside of himself, he wasn't conscious of there even being inside. He just was going with what was happening on the outside. He never questioned. And when it got too much, he decided to end his own life, even though he had the money, he had the status, he was a white man. Okay, so he didn't have certain challenges that people that look like me and possibly whoever is watching on the other end may have had and experienced, but he still committed suicide. And that's why he never looked within. And so imagine if we had more of these conversations, which I feel we're having now. I feel like we're having more of these conversations where we're acknowledging that we are more than these physical bodies, and that we each have a purpose, and that we each have an importance here, and that we can go and dive deep in whatever has happened, because Gregory went through a whole bunch of trauma. Gregory didn't grow up on a farm with loving parents. Gregory went through trauma, and his trauma resulted in him being angry and being manipulative and being disdained and having this demeanor that people didn't want to be next to him. He was argumentative. He was, he was a dude you didn't want to be next to. And he had valid reasons to feel that way. But what Gregory decided to do was to confront those things. He confronted himself. Instead of him saying, well, I'm like this because this happened to me, he said, okay, this happened to me and I'm like this, but I want to change what I'm like. I want to change my experiences. How can I do that? And it was painful and it took him years to accomplish, but he did it. He did it. I'm going to go back to the book. Is it appropriate to interpret the first law of motion, which depicts the idealized movement of a physical object, in this way? Is the first law of motion, when it is interpreted in this way, merely a metaphor that conveniently serves to describe a non-physical dynamic? It is more than that. It is the reflection and physical reality in the world of physical objects and phenomena of a larger non-physical dynamic at work and non-physical domains. This is the physics of the soul. When science and its discoveries are understood with the higher order of logic and understanding of the multi-sensory human, they reveal the same richness that life itself displays everywhere and endlessly. The perception of the multisensory personality is not segmented. The multisensory human, for example, sees that the paradigms which form the history of science also reveal a history of the way that our species have seen itself in relation to the universe. Ptolemaic astronomy reflects a species that sees itself as the center of the universe. We is not the center of the universe, okay? Not the entire universe. No, no. We're like little teeny tiny biological forms that have divinity plugged in us, so we have the ability to create and our own, and collectively we can create together. But the center of the universe, yeah, of your personal experience, yes. Of the big whole universe, no. You say it again. Are you the center of your personal experience? Yes. Are you the center of the whole? No. You say it one more time so you get it. I want you to get it and stick it and get it. Are you the center of your personal experience? Yes. Are you the center of the whole universe? No. But here's the good news. You are connected to it. You're connected to it. It's a connection. You're just not the center of it. Nobody is. We're connected to it. It has a bigger. Let's get back to the book. When science and its discoveries are understood with the higher order of logic and understanding of the multi-sensory human, they reveal the same richness that life itself displays everywhere and endlessly. The perception of the multisensory personality is not segmented. The multisensory human, for example, sees that the paradigms which form the history of science also reveal a history of the way that our species has seen itself in relation to the universe. Ptolemaic astronomy reflects a species that sees itself as the center of the universe. Copernican astronomy, hopefully I'm saying that right. Copernican astronomy reflects a more sophisticated and interdependent perspective of a species that recognizes itself as part of the motion of the universe. Newtonian physics reflects a species that is confident in its ability to grasp the dynamics of the physical world through the intellect. Relatively reflects a species that understands the limiting relationship between the absolute and personalized perceptions of it. And quantum physics reflects a species that is becoming aware of the relationship of its consciousness to the physical world. In other words, from the point of view of the multisensory human, the discoveries of science illuminate both inner and outer experiences, physical and non-physical dynamics. A foundational discovery of optics, for example, is that white and black are not colors, like blue and green and red. White is a combination of all the colors of the visible spectrum of light. And black is the absence of that spectrum, and therefore of white as well. In other words, white is an integration of all the visible forms of radiance, and black is an absence of radiance. What non-physical dynamics does this discovery illuminate? We associate white with purity, goodness, and righteousness. White is the symbol of positive and protective energy. We dress heroes and heroines in white. White represents wholeness of spirit. We associate God, God's messengers, and heaven with white. We picture angels in robes of white. We associate black with evil. We dress villains in black. Black is the symbol of destruction. When catastrophe strikes, we call it a black day. Black represents despair, anger, and rage, which are absences of love, compassion, and forgiveness. We say that a person who feels these things is in a black mood. So, what does that say about the title that people have placed upon people, identifying people as crayon colors? You see how deep it is? It's deep. It's so much deeper than the surface. And when you go deeper than the surface, when you go into the soul, when you go into metaphysics, then you can see clearly, like, oh, now I get it. That's why the conflicts have been the way they've been. And yes, they've been created. And many have been created intentionally, but many have been created unintentionally. And the solution is available. The solutions are available. So instead of taking a lot of time and putting a lot of time into the conflicts, put the time into the solution. Be aware, okay, that's fucked up. We looked at that wrong. Let's look at this better. Let's look at this differently. Let's look at this from a bigger perspective. Since we are part of a bigger perspective, let's look at it from a bigger standpoint. We say the Dark Ages were a time when the light of reason was absent. We call the suffering of a splintered psyche a psyche without radiance, the dark night of the soul. We call the devil the prince of darkness, and we think of hell as a place where the light of God does not reach. Is the perception of white as an integration or completion and black as an absence therefore limited in accuracy or applicability to the physical phenomena of white light and blackness? No. Language, mythology, religion, and science each recognize in white a reflection of integration or wholeness or completion, and in black a reflection of the absence of this. The multisensory personality sees directly that each of these ways of understanding reflects the same thing. The multisensory personality sees divinity or God or divine intelligence or whatever word it chooses to use for this as light. It sees those through whom divinity flows consciously, such as the Christ, the Buddha, and Krishna, as being beings of light, beings of wholeness, integration, completeness. Therefore, it sees in the white of science a reflection in time and space and matter of the wholeness, integration, and perfection of timeless divinity. It sees evil, anger, despair, destruction, and rage as the absence of light. Therefore, it sees in the black of science a reflection in the world of physical phenomena of incompleteness of the absence of light. The multisensory personality sees the same relationships, each reflecting the same world wherever it looks. The five sensory personality cannot see in this way, and therefore its logics and understandings are not as comprehensive. The nature of wholeness and the lack of it and the effects of each are not discernible through the study of physical phenomena to a personality that is not able to see that both physical phenomena and the relationships between them are simultaneously parts of and reflections of larger patterns rather of life. A personality that is not whole lives in a state of splinteredness as represented by individual colors or combinations of them. A personality that is not splintered lives in a state of wholeness as represented by white light. A personality that loses touch with its soul, that loses the source of its light, is a personality that has become capable of what we call evil, as represented by blackness. What we call evil is the absence of light, of love, in all cases. When we speak poetically of light, we associate it with purity, insight, and divine inspiration. As we see, this type of light is not merely poetical, it's real. And I want to pause right here. This is not my first time going into this book, but it's my first time getting through this book completely with the world, right? And we're doing it one chapter at a time each week here at the SupaTea Podcast Show. But I am so conscious of light to the fact that I don't even feel, and this is my personal perception, that what we look at through our telescopes and see as stars, that is heat. I don't think that's heat. I don't think that luminosity is heat. I just think that it is definitely concentrated light. And if you're not on the vibration of that it can harm you. It can harm you. It can be harmful because your absence of it. So it's I don't want to go too far. I'm gonna stop right there with that because I think that might be too much for some people. I'm gonna come right back to where we are right here in the book, how they are describing what light is and how light is really wholeness. It's really everything. So light is all of the colors. And I don't think they explain that. I think they explain the opposite to us. I think they tell us that light is the absence of all colors, and it's not. Light is the combination of all colors, and the radiance. And it's just, and not only just colors, but it's wholeness, and that's why they associated people such as Yeshua ben Joseph as Christ, illuminated, full of light. It's not just what you see with your physical senses. It is what's part of the whole, which is not just something you see with your physical senses or taste. It's multi-sensory. It's a part of something that's way bigger than this physical body. And so when we see the associations there, connect the dots, I'm sure you heard clearly what they associate light with and what they associate dark with. And we're going to go further and use these words white and use these words black, because these are words that have been strategically intertwined into our language, where we don't identify a person as who they truly are, but we identify the person by what we perceive them to be or what we want to perceive them to be. Because let's talk about Yeshua ben Yosef, what you people call Jesus. When they describe Jesus, even though he reached a level of enlightenment which qualified him to be a Christ, and let's be very clear that Christ and Buddha literally means the same thing. Those are titles. So even though there are specific people that we hear more about, there were other people, a lot of other people that reached those heights, those levels of luminosity. There were a lot of Buddhas. There were a lot of Christ. And even Yeshua ben Yosef, Jesus, the popular one that people talk about a lot, he said, you can do the things I do and greater. So he didn't come here and say, oh, look at me. Bow down to me. He never did that. He never ever did that. He said, look at me. You could do this too. You can do this and more. Use me as an example of what you can do and know that you can do what I have done and you can do more. That was his message, people. I don't know why y'all fuck it up. It was a simple fucking message. Y'all fuck it up. He never said, bow down to me. He never said, you can only get here if you go through me. No. He said, if you reach these levels that I have reached, that's how you connect to your divinity. That's what he said. That's what he meant. He didn't meant praise me. He meant learn from me. Because if what you can do what I'm doing, and you can do more, and you can do better, and by doing what I'm doing, which is just basic. This is just basic luminosity, okay? This is just basic. This is you find it phenomenal, but I'm just here to let you know you can do this too, okay? So if you do this, that's how you're gonna consciously connect with God, divinity, consciously. You already connected to God. You already got God beating and working through you, but you're not aware of it. You're not aware. So that's what Jesus came to do. Jesus came to make people aware. His real name was Yeshua ben Yosef. And how did he look? Because it describes how he looked. They said he had a copper tone. He had woolly hair. So, yeah. He didn't look as the paintings show us. He didn't look white, but he was definitely full of light. So you see how they flipped white, they flipped black, and they put it on people, and it was never designed for people. It was never designed for people. So now that we know that, and this has been known, but they just keep trying to switch it up a little bit. But there were other people, and I'm gonna mention this brother's name because he did a lot of work in his short time here, in his few decades here incarnated. He did a lot of work. His name was Timothy Drew Ali. That was his name. They've known him by Brother Drew Ali. He took the teachings that he was getting inside of his society, and he said, I'm about to share these teachings with the world. Not only am I about to share these teachings with the world, I'm about to go and I'm about to recover the ancient flag that they got down here in Central America, and I'm about to bring that flag. We're about to fly that flag up here in North America, since the Americas are actually connected. People need to be reminded. These people, these copper tone people who just is copper toned and deeper than actual Yeshua ben Yosef, aka Jesus, they need to know who they is. They need to stop accepting these titles of black. They're not black. And so people get it so confused when some people realize that, and they be like, I'm not going to identify as that. They're like, oh, you just dropping your culture off. No, silly. They have learned something that you haven't learned. So instead of trying to fight with them because they're making a choice for their personal life on how to identify themselves and to identify themselves more properly and more accurately, instead of fighting with them over that, why don't you do your own research And I'm so happy that people are. You don't know how it fills my soul to hear people say, I'm indigenous. I've done my history. I've done my research. I watched a man stand up in my class last week and say, you don't even know how my soul was having a whole shout. It was having a whole shout. Oh, see, I have enough common sense to know it's a time and place for everything. So that's, but when I tell you I felt it, I felt it, and I feel it every time. Every time I see a melanated person come and say, and I ain't getting off the topic of the soul, but this is important because it's all connected. It's all connected. And it's important. It's important to know who we is. It's important to know what we can be. And it's important for us to be doing it and be being it. Which we doing. So when I see people come here, they be like, okay, some of us came from over there, but some of us didn't. And we remembering now that we didn't, that we was here already. We remembering. And we ain't gonna identify how you want us to identify. We gonna identify as who we truly is. And we gonna honor our ancestors in doing it. And we just gonna be us, and we gonna keep striving to be more whole. And we want you to do the same thing. We want you to do the same thing. Let's do it together. You look like me, let's do it. You look different than me, let's do it. You got different abilities, let's do it. You a man, let's do it. You a woman, let's do it. You got disabilities, just do it. Let's just all realize that we are more than this physical. And let's all realize that we have the ability and the power to identify ourselves as who and what we truly really are. And it's okay for us to learn and to have the courage to confront the wrong identities that people try to impose upon us. So keep up the good work, y'all. Let me get back into this book, because I could keep going and going and on and on and on and on. All right. As we shall see, this type of light is not merely poetical, it is real. A soul can find it difficult to walk the way of light through the course of an incarnation. It could find that learning to live in light is a difficult sojourn through the choices that it makes while it is incarnate upon the earth. The choice of anger instead of forgiveness, for example, or condemnation instead of understanding. A social accumulates negative karma. As it leaves its body, it remains enveloped with the quality of light that it acquired through the choices that it made while it was upon the earth. When that soul has to create another personality, it will have to create a personality that is drawn from this well. Therefore, it will create a personality of more limitations. A personality with limitations of consciousness will find what we call evil more attractive than will one with a more expanded awareness. The temptation to walk that way will be strong for such a personality. All souls are tempted, but an individual with limitations of consciousness will find it more attractive to walk into the magnetic field of fear because it would not recognize fear for what it is. It would accept it as something else, as something that is normal to life. How do we understand evil, therefore, is very significant. Evil needs to be understood for what it is, the dynamic in the absence of light. It's not something that one should prepare to battle, to run from, or to outlaw. Understanding evil as the absence of light automatically requires that we reach for this thing called light. Conscious light is equal to divinity, to divine intelligence. Where there is an absence of divine intelligence, that darkness itself maneuvers. It is simply that there is darkness and we stumble into darkness. The existence in darkness is not permanent. Every soul will eventually be fully enlightened. A soul with no light will always come to no light because there is so much assistance provided to each soul at all times. There is much light, as we shall see, that is continually surrounding such a soul, even though it may not be able to directly penetrate it. And there is much assistance for souls that insist upon living in darkness. The encouragement to take even one thought into light is always available. Eventually, they always do. Understanding that evil is the absence of light does not mean that it's inappropriate to respond to evil. What is the appropriate response to evil? The remedy for an absence is a presence. Evil is an absence, and therefore it cannot be healed with an absence. By hating evil or one who is engaged in evil, you contribute to the absence of light and not to its presence. Hatred of evil does not diminish evil, it increases it. The absence of light causes the personality to suffer. There's pain. When you hate, you bring that suffering upon yourself. Hatred of evil affects the one who hates. It makes him or her a hateful person, a person who also has absented himself or herself from the light. Understanding evil as the absence of light does not require you to become passive or to disregard evil actions or evil behavior. If you see a child being abused or a person or people being oppressed, for example, it's appropriate that you do what you can to protect that child or to aid the people. But if there is not compassion in your heart also for those who abuse and oppress, for those who have no compassion, do you not become like them? Compassion is being moved to and by acts of the heart, to and by the energy of love. If you strike without compassion against the darkness, you yourself enter the darkness. Understanding that evil is the absence of light challenges the perception of power as external. Can an absence be defeated? An evil person can be arrested, but can evil be arrested? An evil group can be imprisoned, but can evil be imprisoned? A compassionate heart is more effective against evil than an army. An army can engage another army, but it cannot engage evil. A compassionate heart can engage evil directly. It can bring light where there was no light. Understanding evil as the absence of light requires you to examine the choices that you make each moment in terms of whether they move you towards light or away from it. It allows you to look with compassion upon those who engage in evil activities, even as you challenge their activities, and thus protect you from the creation of negative karma. It permits you to see that the place to begin the task of eliminating evil is within yourself. This is the appropriate response to evil. The higher order of logic and understanding that characterizes the multisensory human permits it to learn more quickly than the five sensory human is able to learn from what its senses alone tell it and what its intellect makes of that. We have evolved as far as the intellect will take us. We have explored the scope and depth of five sensory reality, and we have discovered the limitations of external power. The next phase of our evolution will take us into the experiences of the multi-sensory human and the nature of authentic power. This requires heart. And that is the end of chapter 4. And that is actually the end of the first part of the book. We will be continuing this book and going into chapter 5 next week here at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, SupaTea Podcast Show. It has been a pleasure. There is no one that is sitting in the box as they say, hey Lisa, over here on my YouTube channel. So there's no questions. But if you have any questions, type them in the comments and I will respond to them as I get able to, because I do have a full schedule, people. And I see Lisa has come and she has left. So I am going to cut down this live right here. Those who came in and gifted, thank you so very much. See you next time. Want to catch the replay? Catch it over on YouTube. Thank you. Bye. Uh-oh. I got a new achievement. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me get out of there. So, I don't be in those TikTok streets that often, people, but it has been a real one with you all. I have homework to do, so I'm going to get to that homework. I want to eat. I made some good food. I'm about to eat. I think I'm about to eat, take a nap, then get up and do that homework. But then we're going to do it like that. But I am so grateful to be diving deep and reminding you that you have divinity inside of you. Reminding you that although you are the center of your life, there is something so much bigger that you are connected to and that you have access to. And I encourage everyone to know what their purpose here is and to live life according to that. And it's good. So it's so good. It is really good. And it's time, just like, with the physical body, when you are healing from trauma or from injuries, people's souls have been injured. We're not just healing physically, we're healing mentally, we're healing spiritually, we're healing soulfully, all of us. So remember the true concept of evil. The true concept of evil is to be without light, without compassion. So yes, if you feel it in your heart to be of service to those who have been victimized or have experienced trauma, or if you are healing from your own trauma, do it, but do it with compassion. Don't do it and look at the perpetrators of the evil as other than humans who don't know any freaking better. Knowing better is not just where a person's intellect is at. Knowing better is knowing that when you intentionally cause harm to someone else, you are intentionally bringing harm to yourself. I don't think nobody wants to actually do that. But I think people are afraid and they are unhealed and they're ignorant to what actually being whole is, being compassionate, being forgiving is. And you can forgive and not give access to an individual that is still having their own internal battle. And I know that from experience. I have a loved one that I have forgiven. I have forgiven this loved one. However, I do not give them access to me directly. Now, we have messaged each other. I send them encouragement. And even when I'm not sending them an encouraging message, in my thoughts and in my prayers, I send them love. But I don't allow access, not to isolate, but to allow them to go within themselves and discover their own light. Because they are aware that they have light inside of them, and give them the opportunity to choose to heal and confront the things that need to be confronted within themselves, and not just come and stand in the luminosity of me. You see, this luminosity of me, I needed. I needed to heal myself. I needed to grow and to live my life purpose. So even though I come on these platforms and I give from an overflow here, I can not afford to deplete my light for anything or anyone. So I make sure, by the grace of the divine, that my cup stays full. And when I come onto these platforms and I share in wisdom and in love and in compassion, is from my overflow. So thank you for coming here to the SupaTea Podcast Show. Check the links. Let's support this sister. I forgot her name already, but you know the sister I'm talking about because I showed her, and I showed her video. We're going to support Ramped. I'm going to connect with those amazing souls. And amazing stuff is going to just keep on happening in my world, okay? And I encourage you to make it happen in your own world, okay? Tune in, tap in, and make it happen. Oh, I like that logo. Tune in, tap in, and make it happen. Don't tune into me. Tune into your own divinity, boo-boo. I'm going to tell you like Yeshua ben Yosef did, but I'm going to give it to you with a little bit of modern day swag. And I'm going to even use his popular name. I'm going to use his street name. We're going to use his tag name, Jesus. We're going to say Jesus. Okay? All the things that Jesus did, you can do too. And you can do more, and you can do better. And by you doing those things, you are consciously more connected to your own divinity, which is the God in you that is there and present and available to you anyway, at all times. You can do it just by your thought and just by a choice and just by your action. And when you continue and you commit to living a life like that, then you too be Christ. You too become a Christ. And that is really truly the return of Christ. It doesn't mean that Jesus is gonna take on a human form again. It means that human form is going to take on the form of Christ. More people are going to illuminate. More people are going to educate. More people are going to grab that knowledge and live their life in reverence, with compassion in their heart, with forgiveness towards their fellow man. More people are doing it right now. Christ has already returned. It's the state of mind. It's having the luminosity mentally, spiritually, to act from your heart. That ain't foolishness. That's the opposite of foolishness. That's wisdom. Internal power. Experience it. I dare you to. I dare you to confront yourself and see what part you play in the situations in your life and make changes to that. I dare you to heal. I dare you to release that trauma. I dare you to experience what it is to actually be free. Not just do things freely, but to be free internally, mentally, spiritually, soulfully. Be really tuned in and tapped into your divinity. I'm not touching nothing right now. And you see how the light is reflected in I dare you. See you next week. And if you're catching the replay, thank you.